Hi guys, so today I am going to do a video on some of the rules in a narcissistic family. So a few things to keep in mind. This is a unit of highly dysfunctional people. They may be functional in their jobs or their careers, but in terms of their the way they interact with each other and the way that they relate to the world on an emotional and psychological level, they're very dysfunctional. So they have a lot of unspoken rules that involve punishment, guilt, shaming, silent treatment, abandoning, gaslighting. Like if you break the rules, then you are going to be punished. And it may be in a very passive aggressive way. So a few different things in their structure. First of all, here's some of the rules. It's like a cult basically, and there's certain rules of the cult, and these rules may be unspoken or spoken, but one is that everything is about image. It's all about maintaining an image of perfection. So these are families that say, well, what would the neighbors think? What would others think? And they're very much about presenting a facade, a mask of perfection. So it's your job to maintain that image. Two is, we do not air our dirty laundry. So you do not, you're not allowed, you're expected to swallow like the shame and the guilt and the abuse, and you're never to reveal the abuse. You're not allowed to tell the truth in these families. It's all about maintaining that image. And, most narcissistic families do have secrets, and they're dirty secrets quite often, and you're expected to keep them under the wraps. And then three, everything you say can be used against you. They often use, triangulation. So these are not families that have like direct, honest communication. They're constantly triangulating. So anything you say is probably or could be used against you. Another thing is that these families have a lack of empathy. Your suffering is meaningless. If you're suffering, it's going to be minimized, it's going to be dismissed, and you're not going to have compassion or sympathy. And then you must sort of serve the patriarch or matriarch. In other words, they're always right. They are the most important, and you are just an extension of them. Your job is to present an image of perfection so the world can, look at them and be like, oh, look at that good parent. If you're a child in this family system, an adult child, like you're supposed to uphold their image. And then hypocrisy is a huge part of these families. They're incredibly entitled. They often don't even recognize their own hypocrisy. It gets carried down through the generation. I mean, these are hypocrites. And for sure, there is no direct, open, honest communication. Triangulation is often how these families operate. Instead of directly going to the person that you have a problem with or that you're concerned about and using open, honest communication and dialogue, everyone goes behind everyone's back. Everything is behind the scenes. There's no direct communication. They can be nice to your face and then stabbing you behind your back. There's tends to be a lot of like gossip behind people's backs. And sometimes it can be in the form of concern. I'm really concerned about this person, but no one goes to the individual and is just very direct and honest and open and communicative. That does not happen in these families. And then it's always someone else's fault. If you're the black sheep, which you could be an in-law that's a black sheep, or you could be a kid that bucked the system and got out of that family structure, then you can be definitely ostracized. There's no accountability. There's no personal responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. It's, the black sheep's fault. It's society's fault. It's someone else's fault. These are not families that take personal responsibility. And then you do not have any right to boundaries or feelings of your own or any sort of individuation from this family system. And I think, and then one other thing is, Yeah, don't even think about leaving. You can't leave the family system. In other words, you don't get to say, "Hey, this is not good. This is inappropriate behavior." You don't get to stand up against the abuse or leave the family system. And often, or sometimes in these families, if there's money will be used to control. So, the patriarch or the matriarch of the family could be using money to keep everyone in the family system, and you're not allowed to leave, or you're going to be, punished financially. I had a client who had a narcissistic mother that had a lot of money, and that, when that kid wanted to be the black sheep, grown man wanted to get out of the family system and started calling some of the people out, his mother out, on some of the abuses that he endured as a child, he was cut off financially and he was ostracized. And this is often a tactic in these narcissistic families. But they operate with triangulation. There's no direct, honest, open communication. You must maintain the image of perfection. You cannot break the family rules. Everyone's going behind everyone's back. There's a lot of triangulation. These are very dysfunctional family systems, and they're actually sort of a lot like cults. Ross, all the stuff I'm talking about today is from Ross Rosenberg, the psychologist. A lot of his literature, he talks about when you get out of these systems that, sometimes the most appropriate form of sort of healing from being in a narcissistic family system is actually sort of cult deprogramming. Because, if you've been in the system, you have had, some programming, just like they use in cults. So you have been brainwashed in a particularly profound sort of way. Sorry, I'm sort of going off on a tangent here, but these are some of the things that are very common in the narcissistic family structure. I personally came from a addicted family structure, and it has a whole other list of rules that are totally different than the narcissistic family structure, but there is some overlap. But it's interesting because it's really made me appreciate my family. As crazy as they are, it's like all out in the open. It's all like obvious, and like everyone's a shit show, and they're all, there's a bunch of addiction, there's a bunch of mental illness. A lot of people are doing work around treating their mental illness and addiction. There's some people that are in recovery and using the mental health system. But with narcissistic families, typically these people do not go to therapy. It's just not part of what they do, and there's very little personal responsibility or efforts made to change, because why would they change? They're perfect, right? It's everyone else, that all the other 7 billion people on the planet, that's the problem, not this dysfunctional family structure. So hopefully this helps. And I'm sorry if you grew up in this, or if you're experiencing this. I know it's a very difficult thing to deal with, but there is hope for you, and you can break out of the system, and you can learn new tools to have open, honest, authentic communication with other human beings. You can learn how to, deprogram yourself from all of these, rules of these families. And again, a lot of times these rules are unspoken and very covert, and also, often like very passive aggressive. So it may not be obvious. I hope this helps you guys, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.